Got your phone on on vibrate.
Yeah.
That way you don't get calls in the middle of it. But that's okay if
Yeah.
it's someone that wants to get involved with the team. That's not a bad thing.
No, my brother's just replied he's gonna share it.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. We're recording now, um so whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm in Columbia City, Indiana.
Columbia City. Okay.
Yeah, middle of nowhere.
All right, we're live, which is the good news. So that part's what we needed to hear. And
Correct.
so where is that compared to Indy?
So it's in northern Indiana, probably 2 hours from downtown Indy, and it's about 25 minutes from Fort Wayne.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah, sweet. And
small enough town.
anywhere in Indiana is going to be racing central, right?
Yeah, I mean, this town kind of know it. Like, I've met a lot of people just going for dinner and going out to places and going to the
Yeah.
bar. Like, oh, you race a sprint car for so and so. I'm like, yeah, I do. And yeah, there's only one of them in this town. I'm like, yeah. So it's kind of cool. Like, a lot of the town get behind it. Like, it's with not as many racetracks in northern Indiana as there used to be, but there's still a lot of fans.
Okay. So for those of you that are just tuning in, do me a favor if you could. I'd love you to press share on this, which is that nice little blue button that just allows us to get this out to as many people as we can. I'm talking with Max Guilford, who's a New Zealand sprint car racer who races in the US, which I love hearing about. And you race against and with one of my great buddies in Jordan Goldsberry in the Rockstar Energy Drinks car every now and again. You cross swords with him. But the exciting news for me is that you're going to be racing in Australia, Max, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. Principally, that you're going to come down under and do quite a bit of racing, kicking off at the NAPA Speedway in the City event, which is just going to be mega. Then you're going to turn your focus to Brandt Sprintcar Speedweek. I'm hoping to have you on the Sprintcar Power Tour, get the classic King's Challenge, all that sort of stuff. Max, when did sprint car racing become on your radar? As a Kiwi, I would have thought that the focus would have been towards midget racing. And is that a stereotype?
Yeah, I would. I started a midget, so yeah. I mean, I cut my teeth in midgets for 6 years and crashed probably about everything you could find. And then Bryce Townsend was my crew chief at the time on that
Oh,
deal.
right.
He was always
Yeah.
midget, midget, midget. Sprint cars are stupid. We ain't going sprint car racing. You're gonna
Yeah.
race a midget. I was like, okay, well, and at the time, midgets were really big with USAC, and I was wanting to get over and race a midget, so that's what we were doing, and that's how I kind of got my start in America, was racing a midget. And then as things progressed, I started running non-wing sprint cars, and I really liked that. And I was like, okay, I want to go sprint car racing, but in New Zealand we have 14s and wing 14s only. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, guess that's the next transition. And we kind of like dipped our toes in the water in between racing midgets. We had a sprint car team. We were setting up a sprint car team, and we raced, I don't know, maybe 12 times in our first year. And we were kind of like, oh, yeah, we're getting decent. Like, I felt like really comfortable, and it was something I wanted to keep doing. So
Yep.
eventually we sold our sprint car team and midget team, and went full bore on sprint cars.
So is it wing or non-wing? I mean, I see principally you running winged cars, but when you're in Indiana, a sprint car is USAC non-wing and it's winged. And even there's places like Glenn Saville, a mate of mine, races, throughout Kansas and Iowa and stuff in this run what you brung class where it's no wing and any motor you want to squeeze in the down tubes. So there's a lot of variations here.
Yeah, it is a big very like I ran local. So when I first started the non-wing deal, which was actually set up for Chris Wyndham and Goodnight, I it was 14 non-wing local Indiana stuff with a bit of USAC here and there, and we actually got going there in the end, and it kind of all ended, and I had to go home because my visa or whatever had run out, and it was the end of that, and then yeah, like once I could progress to the wing stuff, I managed to get a couple rides here and there and be able to come over for a couple weeks at a time. And like it was started off in a 305 with
Yeah.
Bob Burkle got me a ride, and that's kind of how that took off.
Okay, so it's been a transitional. You haven't just ripped straight into 410 wing racing. It's been a transition. Because let's face it, when you race in Indiana, it's a hotbed, mate. In any form. And I mean, how many tracks? There are dozens of racetracks throughout, that Indiana area.
I mean, I think there's something like 70 dirt tracks in Indiana that race. I know all don't run sprint cars, and we've been lucky enough, I think, to run a wing car in Indiana this year, like 4 or 5 times, maybe 6 times. And the more we can race at home, the better, because it's way less driving, and over here there's a lot of driving to be done.
Yeah, and like the Sprint Invader stuff, there's quite a lot of stuff. Parai sanctioning as well. There's a lot of racing in Illinois, in Wisconsin, those sort of places that
Ohio.
originally I wouldn't have thought that, the Ohio and the Iowa thing makes perfect sense to me. It's like, yes, we all hear about that, but the Wisconsin stuff, and I know that the 141 and places like that you go to where I see Jordan racing at a lot. There's a lot of racing across the top of the Midwest.
Yeah, and that's kind of something I didn't know a whole lot about till we had my own sprint car team over here, and we were on the road, and we went to a couple IRA shows at Reno, Illinois, and I was like, "Oh, this is a good series." Steve runs a great series with the IRA, and
Yeah, he does.
like, okay, let's go run a couple more. And we ended up in northern Wisconsin, and we were like, "Oh, we're a long way from home."
Yeah, yeah.
But the racetracks are great. Like the racetracks, I would say are most comparable to racing in Australia and New Zealand. Some
Hmm.
of them are flat. The way they race, the type of dirt, like just it kind of race more like home. Like Angel Park to me is like racing at home. It's a little
Yeah.
bigger and faster, but the wall it's narrow. It gets technical. It gets a little rough. Like it's like racing at Western Springs.
And let's face it, Angel has that incredible reputation as one of the premier midget surfaces and circuits in the world. And over the years, many Aussies and New Zealand drivers have had success there.
Yeah, I know. Like BSL used to go up there, and this is when I was a lot younger. I know Scotty Buckley raced there a lot. Brad Mosen raced there. Sean Inslee and I'm pretty sure Bryce and all them went and raced there in a tour they had there. So I knew they ran national midgets there quite often, and I know Bill Buckley's had quite an involvement with it. So to be able to race a sprint car around there is actually pretty cool.
To pivot for a second here, mate, I noticed lately I'm seeing a lot of "Are You OK" Day stickers in Australia, getting around with mental health stuff. And I don't think I've ever seen a more turbulent period for our planet at the moment. So, and bringing up Bryce obviously makes me think about that it's just so important that we look after our mates. And if you're watching this at the moment, and if for some reason starting to feel like you don't count, like it's not a big thing, it'd probably be better off if I wasn't here. That kind of stuff, that is not true. Just reach out to a mate, just text somebody, just say g'day. Just sometimes that little bit of connection, I think, at times, Max, can make a really, really big difference. And you mightn't think that you matter,
100%.
but you do. And I think we're all, and a lot of times it affects people, Max, that seem to be on top of their game, where you go, what? Like I just saw him a day ago and he was absolutely vibing. And, Bryce
Yeah,
has that kind of energy.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Sure, agree with that. It can be it's a I don't know what you'd call it, a bug or whatever, but it gets you and you struggle to shake it off sometimes.
Yeah. The black dog, they say that the black dog can bite. So,
That's what I was looking for.
I just want to make sure that we put that out there and in Bryce's memory as well, that we recognize that the times can be tough, but there's always someone you can talk to these days, and please remember that. So Max, when did the idea of racing in Australia come about for you? Is it something you've sort of always wanted to do like this? Because let's face it, New Zealand is a superpower in midget racing, and I think everyone in Australia understands that it's USA, New Zealand, Australia. Like we're still playing a bit of catch up to the Kiwis in terms of the competition there. But sprint car racing wise, I see a lot of stuff with Jonathan Allard, racing over in New Zealand every year, and Michael Pickens. But fundamentally, New Zealand sprint car racing doesn't compare to Australia or America without being disrespectful.
Yeah, I would have to 100% agree with you on that. I'd say the biggest problem, like we have two really good sprint car racetracks, well, three really good sprint car racetracks in New Zealand. We have Bay Park, Cromwell, and Ruapuna. Mary is coming back for the people that remember that. It was well before my time, but I'm absolutely
Yep.
looking forward to getting to there once it's complete. And that'll be a big, fast racetrack that will race something similar to Australia and similar to some of the smaller stuff over here.
Yep.
But no, I the sprint car stuff in New Zealand is just it's fun, and you don't need a massive motor and you don't need a massive budget, but you also don't race for a lot of money, and we don't. It's more of a hobbyist thing, whereas in Australia, it's there's teams that are full time on the road racing, and it's a career for them.
Yep.
Whereas in New Zealand, there's not an opportunity to do that. and I really like it all started. I ran a midget at Archerfield for a guy in Australia, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like it's
Yeah.
the next step in my career at that point because I'd only been to America a couple of times, and then we got racing in New Zealand with my crew chief that came down, my American crew chief Bob, and he was like, "Wow, what's next?" I'm like, "Well, you should go to Australia," and we
Yep.
all kind of laughed, and it was like, "Okay, yeah, we should do that." So we got talking about it a little more when I got over to America, and we put together a plan, and I put it in front of my parents, and Dad went, "Well, we still have a sprint car team, so let's see if we can figure out how to get it all to Australia and get enough people connected and help us out to get us on the road."
So that's going to kick off. Well, it's going to come up much quicker than even I realized. The NAPA Speedway and the City event is looming in November. There's racing the weekend before at Tolma Speedway and also Borderline in the lead up to that event, which is going to be massive in itself. The Napa event last year, it was subject to so much speculation. Oh, Max, they can't do it. The track's going to be sugar honey iced tea. It's not going to work, blah, blah, blah. And they did a phenomenal job with it. Like as an event, it was mind blowing. The first night racing in particular was phenomenal. Second night slicked off like we expected, but the vibe and the concept is groundbreaking. And this year I feel it's going to be even bigger. At what point did you go, that's where I want to start?
I kind of had those uh expectations of it last year, and when it got announced, whatever, I was like, this is awesome. It's inside the supercars event, which gets a huge amount of attention anyway. It's great for sprint cars to be able to get on like a main stage and in front of people that probably don't watch
Yeah.
sprint cars. But I was like, man, if the race, we struggle down in this side of the world to build racetracks in a hurry,
Yep.
and I was really optimistic about what the racetrack would turn out like. But after watching the first night, I was like, okay, they built a racetrack. It works and it was racy. And, it took a bit of teething to get it right. But I feel like this year they'd have taken notes that they had from last year and be like, this is how we could do it better. We could shape it a little better.
Yeah.
You do different things about it. And for me, it was for my family. My brother was really big into cricket, and to have it built on a cricket pitch was just absolute icing on the cake for me. And I made sure to remind him that this the other day when we were talking about it. So to be able to kick our sprint car stuff off over there, probably in the limelight in a sense with what's going
Yeah.
on with the supercars, and hopefully be able to put a name on it for our own team and make a good start to our summer.
New Zealand motorsport competitors, mate, on an international stage have been phenomenal for so many years. And I know that I tell Americans that Aussies and Kiwis have this love-hate affair, right? Anzac Day, we're all buddies.
Yeah,
When it comes to All Blacks and cricket and things like that, then it's like, oh, we're pretty fierce competitors. But we have to concede that SVG has been phenomenal. Scotty McLaughlin has been phenomenal. Scott Dixon has been phenomenal. Like Michael Pickens can roll over to in any midget race in the US and just immediately dial in. There's so many fantastic, and even go back to Ivan Major, who you're too young to remember, who was like a six-time world speedway champion. So there's
yeah,
incredible culture in New Zealand motor racing. You guys really are a motorsport nation.
yeah. And I think it's cool that the media shine a light on like all the pavement racing it goes on, and like you see at SVG and Scott McLaughlin and Liam Lawson
Yeah.
and all of those guys and Hayden Paddon, like they shine a light on pretty much every corner of motorsport, except sprint car racing or midget racing. And you
Yeah.
only ever see it in the news when someone gets hurt or something bad happens, and it's kind of like, to me, like I told you before we started all of this, I'm not a huge social media person. Like I'm not big into all of that, but it's kind of one of the things I really would like to do is try push sprint car racing to be more mainstream media. And instead of reporting on the bad things, we
Yep.
report on a big win or like a big sprint car race coming up. And we actually try push it a little harder where like the 6 o'clock news is like Liam Lawson qualified third. Well, I'm sure they reported on that at home recently. Well, why can't we do the same thing for sprint car racing? Like, oh, I won a big race, or another New Zealander won a big race in Australia or America or whatever it may be.
Over the years, Max, I've always felt the same way. And here's a good example. Over the weekend, two Queensland brothers won $1.5 million between the pair of them in Vegas in the Supercross, right?
Yeah.
The Lawrence brothers are absolutely number one and number two in the world. Yet outside the motocross world, would you necessarily know that? 2 weeks ago, Brady Kurtz won 5 Speedway Grand Prix on the trot and beat Bartosz Mazlik. And everyone says, oh, why doesn't the media recognize it? I think, to be honest, we fall down at that end ourselves, Max. I don't think our industry provides that information to the media in a way that it could just be easily digested. When you think about tennis and cricket and football, all those sports that you and I go, yeah, yeah, great. They have
Yeah.
they have an industry that actually has a structured, regimented way of providing activity and giving legitimacy. And I think
And I guess it's easy enough to follow.
that's what we don't have as an industry. So I think it's on us as much as anything. I'm really excited to have you running here on Brandt Sprintcar Speedweek, which I'm particularly passionate about. We're looking at 20 pro contracted available spots this year. We averaged 37, 38, 40 cars last year during all 5 nights of the series, and we raced 5 times in those 7 days. What appeals to you about Speedweek?
I like when we started looking at all this, the high limit was kind of how it all kicked off, and then it was like, man, that's not a lot of racing, and it's a long way to go, and to get stuff there is a little logistical nightmare. And then I remembered seeing the Speed Week go on last year, and it was like, oh, that kind of looked like the way you guys promoted it and the way you had it set up. I was like, that's a professional looking deal for being in their first year, or the first time I'd seen it at least.
Yeah,
I was like, okay. And then I kind of got to watching it, and like I got talking to you, and I got talking to some other Australians, like Brock Hallett. Me and him
yeah,
talked when he was up here, and he's like, "It's a great series. Like, you need to come be a part of it." And there's good money on the line. There's like you said, there's 40 cars every night, and there's 40 quality cars every night. So for us to be able to come over and race 20 times in January, that's a huge thing for us. I think we run like 18 nights, I think. So
yeah.
we had a grant chance to be able to jam that much racing into a short period of time for me is perfect.
So you got the NAPA Speedway in the City concept coming up. Excuse me, third week in November. You start off with, well, I know that Tolma and Borderline are on the weekend before, a bit of a trail, a bit of a path to Napa. You got Murray Bridge on that weekend. You got the weekend after is Mildura for a 2 night show, which is only 3.5, 4 hours down the road from the Napa event in Adelaide. Then you got the Max race mid-December. Then you got Speed Week 26th, 27th, 28th, 30th, 1st. The plan is at the moment for the Power Tour, which will be the next part of Speed Week, moving on towards Sydney. Then on to 3 nights in Toowoomba, then back to Mildura, then 2 nights at Tolma, and then you start Classic Week. So between the third week in November and really the end of January into February, it's a phenomenal time to be racing. But that's a big logistical thing for you. How are you doing this? And are there ways that expat New Zealanders or Aussies or Americans can support you in what you're doing?
Yeah, there is. It's been a lot of logistical planning. I mean, after we ran our sprint car team in America, we got fairly good at the whole packing it all up, putting it in a container, sending it somewhere. So the logistics of it has been fairly straightforward this year since we had a decent idea already. It's kind of by chance. Gavin Ollenbach had a mule for sale, and I got talking to him, and we just got talking. He's like, "Oh, if you need some help with shop space or somewhere in Sydney, like
Yeah,
I'll help you all out." And um, the next thing was finding a semi or finding a truck to use. And I think we've got all that sorted. I just need to talk to him and make sure we've got that all covered off. But the biggest thing now is finding, some local businesses in South Australia
yep,
and up the East Coast that want to be a part of kind of the next Kiwi success story. I don't want to go out and say that. Like, I don't want to blow my ego up too much, but someone that wants to come along for the journey and have a good time with us and be able to get your business out there and in front of thousands of fans a night and going up and down the road and meeting people and doing all that. So for anyone that's
yep.
out there that wants to be a part of a Kiwi across the ditch thing, or any New Zealanders that are over in Australia, it'd be great to hear from you.
Now, it's easy to think, wouldn't it be great if someone just come up and wrote a check for 10 grand for you each night? But little things add up too. Buying a couple of tires every time, just adding a drum of methanol, things like that. I think a lot of people get, oh, I can't afford to sponsor a sprint car. And you see it a lot in international speedway motorcycles where guys are riding in the UK and they're sponsored by a husband and wife. that just tip in a few tires every show and things like that. So yeah, I'm sure you wouldn't knock back a check for 15 grand, Max, if that came your
For
way.
sure.
But it's
But no,
also cool if someone says, "Can I buy you a couple tires?" You know, that kind of thing adds up, right?
or just even buying cases of water. Like we have people over here that just they show up in the parking lot working in with a case of water, and even that goes a long way. It's just like we don't have to go do it. We don't have to think about it. They bring some food over. They buy, just anything like that is a help. It seems little it seems little to them, but it can mean a lot to us because it's a lot of stress racing. I think in like what 17 days we run 11 nights or whatever it is. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of traveling and a lot of logistics. And, if you start tearing stuff up or whatever, and it just becomes long on you. So when people are there just to help you out in little ways, it can go a long way.
So you're going to be bringing your American crew chief, which I think is important. It'll give you consistency in your setup and in how you like to work with your team and with your crew. So I think that's exciting for you and a good starting point.
Yeah, it's been really cool because we've been able to build this bond or relationship over the last it's probably been 4 years now, and it's the only reason really I got another start in America was racing a wing sprint car was from him.
Yep.
And we don't get to work all the time now, but since they're not racing over here, he's got a bit of time off, and he can bring his family down. We can go work on our race cars or racecraft. My racecraft really is probably the biggest thing, and get better together over the month of January.
So the cool part is that I'll put the YouTube links up to our Sprintcar Speedweek TV exposure where you can see the events and how they worked and the racetracks. And I guess, if you get a chance, you can sim and all that sort of stuff. But there's going to be no substitute for being here on the racetrack and having your deal set up. When does everything arrive? Is your gear currently on its way? Like, how does this work? Because to explain to people they're watching, Maxie's a Kiwi who races in Indiana and throughout the Midwest. Is coming back to race in Australia for basically over a month worth of competition. So almost 2 months by the time it's done. Where is it all right now, your gear?
So kind of last year, so we had our sprint car team in America. I basically cut it in half, sent half of it home, and sold bits and pieces because I was racing for Daniel Anderson at the time, and it
Yep.
was kind of I didn't need any of it, and Dad wanted to just get rid of some of it and update when we needed to. And then I had still a car and bits and pieces over here in America. So basically, what we did was we've added to what we've had over in America. We put it in a container. It is now on its way to New Zealand,
Yep.
where the cars will get built, stickered, basically ready to fire off, ready to race if we want them to at home. Then they're getting put in a container on the 20th of October. So I've got about 11 days to build them when I get home and sticker them and have them all ready. So it's going to be a long couple day or week and a bit for me, but they'll get put in a container. They'll arrive in Sydney in about 3 weeks after that. So was that put us the second or third week of November?
Yep.
By that point, hopefully Gavin's still all on board, and we can take them to the shop and get finished getting them set up and assemble wings and whatnot and whatever's left, and get the semi set up or the truck set up, and basically get on the road and go to Napa. All playing right, we'll go to the first 2 nights beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
but just have to see how we're all tracking, and as long as nothing's delayed or nothing falls off a boat, we'll be good.
So I think it's exciting for Australian sprint car racing. Michael's been coming over here for a couple of seasons now, racing over in the West Coast for Sean Caron, racing on the East Coast, people like Brody Tullock, and also the V88 team down in Melbourne. So we have seen Michael Pickens racing in Australia, reasonably consistently now in sprint cars. He seems to be morphing his focus a bit towards the wing. But to have you in the country for this period of time, running up and down the East Coast, I'm really excited, Max. And if people want to get involved in your program, please message either myself or Max through this thread and this live right now. We want to sort of make this an annual thing for you where you can come to Australia and spend, 6 to 8 weeks running with us and then head back. It's a perfect way to build you up for getting laps in to race against your American rivals.
Yeah, I mean that's really the next step in my career, being short only 5 years in a sprint car at the minute, is to be able to go race with the Americans that come down, and the very good Australians that can race up here on a regional level with anybody, and even some of them at a national level. So to be able to improve my skills and learn bits and pieces on different racetracks and whatever is going to help me coming back up to America again next year to race.
What chassis and motor combinations do you run, Max?
So we've just switched all our stuff to Triple X. So we've got new Triple X cars. We've got a Carry, which is just getting rebuilt at the minute.
Nice.
Um, I'm hoping to have a brand new Kistler with us as well, all being finished up and
Yep.
able to go, and maybe a rider as well. So our motor program will be as good as it can be, I feel. Our cars are all brand new. Everything that goes with it's brand new. We've got a mule. It's going to be able to take everything we need. So really, we're putting our best foot forward to be able to to be able to race for wins and race for podiums and be in the top five at a regular base. And with my American crew chief coming down, me and him work great together. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, there's no reason why we can't now. We've got motors and cars and you.
So I know that New Zealanders are very passionate about their motor racing, about supporting their locals as well. So any Kiwis back home in the land of the long white cloud, or anybody that's expat living in Australia, or any Aussies that want to get behind you, or any Americans that want to get behind you and support you in a spares inventory, in ongoing logistics, in little things like that. I'd love you to get behind Max. I'm really excited to have you in Australia, Max, for the period that you are, particularly on Speed Week at NAPA on the Power Tour. And it's nice to add a New Zealand anthem to the classic as well. So there's a lot of cool things rolling out here. So I appreciate your commitment to what we're doing, mate.
No, thank you. I'm looking forward to November, December, and January, and bring on the warm weather and long nights.
So everybody send a bit of a follow and a like and a share to Max's page here as well on Facebook. I'm sure it's being shared by his brother right at the moment, so it's on his socials as well. But let's get around this guy, and looking forward to having him as part of the competition. Enjoy the colder weather. Is it getting cold there yet?
It was very cold at Cedar Lake the other night for the race we did up there. It was about 3 or 4 degrees centigrade. So yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't very fun. I don't think I've been so cold in a race car in my life. But
get your
no, it's
ass out
been
of the snow. You'll be
really
right. You'll
warm.
be back here soon and be warm.
Yeah.
Always good to talk to you, Max. I'm excited about what we can do together, mate. And let's talk again shortly, all right?
All right. Thank you.
Max Guilford, exciting New Zealand racer who's based in Indiana but is headed down to Australia for the NAPA Speedway in the city, for the Brandt Sprintcar Speedweek, for the Power Tour, Classic, King's Challenge, Avalon, all that stuff. I'd love you to get around him and be part of it all. And I'll tell you more about his program very soon. Catch you later, everybody.